Hello, friends. It is great to see you all on this first full Adult Academy of the season. Um, I am really so honored to introduce Christine and Ilana. They are members of the Germantown Community Fridge team. Team being a loose sort of volunteers from all over. Because it's a mutual aid group, that means there's not as much of a formal structure, and folks live into their gifts. If you'll recall, a year and a half ago, is that right, Bill? I'm not telling you what it is. I think it was Christmas of 2022. The Community Needs offering funded a trial program of cooking meals, and that was both church members as well as fridge folks cooking meals to put whole meals into the fridge for folks who either don't have their own stove or for whom it's just easier, etc. And that continued again. We were able to fund that again the following year. But the fridge has also found ways to produce way more and do way more meals than we have funded by far. And originally we started that, and there was a little trepidation of how we work through all of that. And as Ilana and Christine have joined the team, there's just such grand vision of what this can be in terms of community building, as well as nourishing, as well as teaching and utilizing the resources that we're being blessed with. So I invited them to come, and it's so good to see some of our other chefs in our midst. If you have cooked if you've cooked, can you raise your hands? And so I've invited them to share whatever they want to share, and I think they're ready for random questions as well. Is that okay? But I remain very excited by this partnership, especially every time I see some of them walk through the office with big bags of food that I know are to nourish people. Wow, that is impressive wind. So speaking of the wind and the Holy Spirit, shall we open in prayer? Gracious and loving God, we call you by many names or no name. And we thank you for your openness of hearts and the ways that you bring us from all walks of life together to be partners with the people of Germantown, Almighty God. Thank you for the food you have shared, the chefs you have provided, the vision that flows forth. And we pray that you will bless this time and each of us, each who come to the fridge today and each who will come to the fridge in the future to volunteer, to eat, to do both. Help us catch visions of your dream in this time together. We ask this through the bold movement of your wind, your Holy Spirit, and all God's children prayed. Amen. With no further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Ilana.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. It's great to be here, to be invited by Elisa and all of you. I have gotten to know Linda quite well over the past year, and then Marilyn, and now Kara, and some other congregants here. It's lovely. So I guess Kara asked me to start by saying how I got involved with the fridge about a year and a half ago. I lived in Cheltenham, but I had worked in Germantown and lived in Germantown 2012 to 2014. I was looking for an opportunity to do mutual aid cooking. Particularly, there's a concept that I was looking for called Food Not Bombs. And I don't know if some of you are familiar with this concept. It's an anarchist it's an anarchist idea that in cities all over the country and all over the world, people will rescue food and prepare vegetarian meals once a week or more or less, depending on where they are and how they're organized, and serve it in public to anybody who wants to come eat. I was looking to find a group like that. I wanted to volunteer. I didn't have a group of people I was volunteering with, And so I looked them up locally, and it was in West Philly and South Philly, and that wasn't gonna work for me because I live in Cheltenham. So my friend Shannon, I knew was involved with this fridge. I asked her if she knew Food Not Bombs people around here. She said she didn't, but that they started cooking meals for the fridge out of FUMCOG, and I should come. And so I came. And then she forgot to tell me when they were doing it again the whole summer. And so then I returned when she remembered to tell me again in September last year. And then one of our very dedicated volunteers named Susan Block was like, "Hey, you sound like you know a lot." um, we have to write our second grant to FUMCOG's Community Needs Fund. Would you help me write the grant? I don't know what I'm doing. And I said, yes, I would love to. When I lived here in Germantown, I worked with a woman named Lawanda Horton at her company, her own small business called Mission Incorporated. She's a consultant to nonprofits on fundraising. And so I learned directly from her, sitting next to her, how to run development for nonprofits for 2 years, about 10 years ago. And so I really have a strong base of knowledge about how to run a nonprofit, how to start a nonprofit, and how to fund a nonprofit. And so I sat with Susan and wrote this grant, and she was like, "Do you want to join the core volunteer team? I think you could really help us out." And so that's how I got really kind of like involved in the central organization situation with this group. And I guess I'll hand it over to Christine about how she arrived and landed here.
I
Microphone.
have mine.
Oh,
Yes, I have my own. I had found Germantown Community Fridge actually through a Inquirer article where they were talking about community fridges, and this was the closest one. And I live in West Oak Lane, so about 3 miles away. And I had started just randomly bringing, baked goods. I bake a lot of Christmas cookies, and the first Christmas I came and just bagged up a ton of cookies and put them all in there. And I would, pick up food here and there, especially when things are on sale. I like to shop on sale. So I would buy a lot of different, things and random things and put them in. I didn't actually visit the other location that often just because this was just easier and more familiar. I had started getting donations from other people. I work as a nanny, and a lot of times the kids, start eating a package of something and then they don't want the rest of them. They're all individually wrapped, so those things come to me and they go in. In the spring, I I think I was talking to Shannon more. I was shopping more. I'd actually started doing scheduled shopping, and eventually it came down to Ilana opening up the cooking, asking if anybody else wanted to, and I said yes. I think that was April.
Well, you want to tell them about cauliflower night?
Oh yes. So before I actually cooked with the whole group, we rescued 25 heads of cauliflower that were half good, half not so great, that were put in the fridge. We didn't want them to go to waste. Alana asked if anyone wanted to help cook them, and I said sure. She planned on roasting them and putting them back in the fridge. I, of course, wanted to turn that into Mexican cauli rice, which included, all the good stuff like beans and corn and everything else. And we spent the better part of an evening ricing cauliflower and cooking it all up and making, how many meals did we make? About 30 meals, maybe? About 30 meals into the fridge that night. I joined them for the first official cook. We had made pasta bolognese with Bria, who was a home chef who helped us. And after that, I had started, I forget how I actually started shopping for the shop, but somehow I ended up shopping for the next shop. And then next thing I know, Alana said, "Do you want to be part of core team?" But then in June, it came to me like we could save a lot more money under the budget we were using by shopping better and actually produce more than just one cook a month. So we started that month. We added on a separate cook, a small cook of doing yogurt parfaits and things like that. And then in July and August, we actually did, I think, 3 and 4 cooks. We produced between 400 and 500 items per month, either everything from a fresh fruit cup to a complete meal. We've done smoked turkey, smoked chicken. My boyfriend smokes the meats for us. And we smoked 3 15-pound turkeys that were gifted to us from grocery outlet. So we get a lot of food, sometimes, donated. We have a lot of partnerships that I've been keeping some of the food that would normally go into the fridge and using it for our cooking projects to help us feed more people for less money. So we've done, we did actually Friday night. We made a pasta dish. We made pesto chicken sandwiches and BLTs. We used turkey bacon. And we did more yogurt parfaits, which were amazing. Everybody likes them. We also started including utensils into our things, so people can just literally take it from the fridge and eat it. That makes it nice for people who don't have that at home or may not have a home. Oh yes, we made that with the Villanova students. We made 76 meals of chicken teriyaki noodle bowls. And then we had made salad cups to go on the sides. We usually tend to make something with a meat, and we tend to make a meatless option also, whether it be the same thing or just another dish that doesn't have meat. So Friday night, the 2 main things had meat, the sandwiches, but the pasta dish we did on the side did not have meat. So we try to keep it, open for everybody, and we try to vary the meats, mostly chicken, just because most people tend to eat chicken. We do pork sometimes. We're going to do pork next week, actually, but we tend to, like I said, stick with chicken or something that most people will eat.
Distribute them all here.
We put half of them here, and we put half of them at the one in front of Green Street Friends on Armat Street. And sometimes we've had a surplus, and we've put them in another fridge, which is Ilana Street Fridge. So
Armat Street Fridge is the original Germantown Community Fridge. Germantown Community Fridge was started by a woman named Jane Ellis, who is an employee at Green Street Friends. And I guess during the first summer of the pandemic, she and her husband, who live in Mount Airy, had an extra fridge. I think they got their kitchen renovated, and she said, "What if we put this on the street?" I don't really know more than that, but it went on the street. A neighborhood volunteer built the shed that houses it. The idea for a community fridge is not original. Like, there are community fridges all over the country and all over the world, but it does take a huge amount of effort and work. Keeping it clean is a really major part of keeping it running, and keeping it safe. Trash removal is another big part of keeping the space safe and welcoming and pleasant. And so as we've grown, these are things that become more and more, I don't want to say difficult, but it just develops when you have, as something grows, you get more trash, but the space is still the same. Trash has to get taken out more often. We're always combating people dropping off items that are unsafe, whether it's expired or not sealed, or maybe not labeled, and then the nature of it is that everybody has a different idea of what's good, So yeah, I guess if it's okay, we can open it to questions and comments.
So, talked a lot about cooking, but let's talk about what you just were talking about. Maintenance,
Yeah, the rest of it.
cleanliness, food safety, those things. So just give us an idea, like, you have somebody checking it once a day,
Absolutely.
once every other day, twice a day, how someone.
Yeah, I guess so. Coming from my background of nonprofit organizing and development, I had a lot of questions too when I first came to the team, like, are we going to get sued?
Yeah.
And a woman named Angela sent me an academic article about legal issues surrounding community fridges. I think it came out of Harvard. And I'll tell you that there's a lot of academic interest in how this works, whether it's from the legal side or the food distribution side or the urban development side. There's a lot of interest around it. So I guess there's something called the Emerson Act, AKA the Good Samaritan Act, which kind of protects people who, with good intentions, are feeding others. I don't want to misquote it or give you the particulars, but in general, the assumption is that people give with good intentions, that nobody's, for example, like putting something poison in there, you know, and that we as a group are not liable if someone did, I guess, you know, in the worst case nightmare scenario, you know, but so far, as long as I've been involved and as far as I know, no one's ever said I got sick from the fridge.
Everything that's included is labeled, so if you have an allergy or something, everything that's stated, but
Yeah, we ask that people, you know, we have like our guidelines and what not to give, you know, but it's always a constant having to remind people. You have new people coming in. We ask that people label what it is they're dropping. Like if it's homemade, we ask for labeling of what it is, what the ingredients are, when it was made, and when it should be eaten by. This doesn't always happen, you know, but at the same time, people take at their own discretion. Don't take something if you don't want it, you know. It's free. Nobody's making you eat it. And then, so cleaning and maintenance. Susan Block, who I mentioned before, who asked me to write the grant last year with her, she's a huge influence and power force in the organization of this, and she's really coordinated what she calls now her clean team. There are lots of volunteers who come out and clean with her or with each other throughout the week. It's maybe not every day that a deep clean happens, but also we have volunteer boxes at both locations with a combination lock on it. And so the volunteers who are members of our, who have joined our app where we communicate, they know the code. And so inside is like spray and paper towels and some cleaning supplies and trash bags for if somebody comes there and something needs to get cleaned on the fly, you know, or the volunteers who have been organized to come, like there's supplies there for them also. And so that's kind of part of the mutual aid. Like if I go over because I have some cans to drop off and there's a spill in the fridge, I can quick wipe it up even if I didn't sign up to clean that day, you know. So kind of it's that's part of the community effort.
Yeah, on that subject of, you know,
Oh. Yeah, pass this back, please. Talking in the whole hall.
yeah, thanks for being here and explaining the program. Following up on, you know, cleanliness and trash removal, just personally, I'd noticed, you know, some months ago, there was quite a bit of trash and litter that was kind of left over from whenever on Sundays, and several times I found myself, you know, cleaning it up before I moved into church. I have to say, it seems that things seem to be better now. So maybe you know, up those responsibilities among people, and so I've definitely noticed the difference in the last month or two. And but nonetheless, you know, I'm kind of obsessed with, you know, picking up trash and litter all over the city and my neighborhood and stuff. So those are the things that I notice right away. And but that said, you know, thank you for all the work. It's a great program, and hope we can, you know, keep it clean and tidy.
Thank you so much. What's your name?
My name's Rodney.
Ilana. Nice to meet you. Thank you for helping. It takes people who care, who are here. I do want to shout out a man named Wayne Singleton, who we have employed to take out the trash on Saturdays every weekend. Trash originally was just all volunteer organized, and as we've grown, it's become untenable for volunteers to come and keep up with it, especially on the weekends. Illegal dumping, especially at Armit Street, is an issue. There's like nightclubs on Germantown Avenue right there, and people will come with their takeout food, and so Saturdays and Sundays were really problematic. Also, Saturdays and Sundays are huge days for donations. So you have all these boxes, and just a lot. There's a lot of buildup on these days. I guess there's a volunteer particularly named John Cohen, who really shouldered a lot of it. So thank you to John. Then I guess last year we started paying a service to supplement the city trash removal, called DePaul. DePaul House is nearby on Sprague, I think. It's a halfway house situation. And they have a program employing men who live there to do the trash removal. And so we started using them. They come 3 days a week. Green Street Friends School, there's a woman there named Marisol who's an employee, and she keeps up with the trash down there daily on weekdays. And they have their own dumpster. So that kind of has its own little environment down there that we don't have here at High Street. But then also, like I said, like the foot traffic down at Armit is a different situation too. Yes.
Ilana, it's a question. Do you have city trash?
Here, yes. Down at Green Street, I'm not sure. Or yeah, Armit Street. I know that on Wednesday night, the cans out here get taken out to to the curb, and the city comes and takes the trash on Thursday. DePaul is Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then we found Wayne Singleton, who is an individual. He's a retired plumber in Germantown, and he's kind of like Germantown's favorite handyman. He's very beloved. And after, wringing our hands and John Cohen being sick of coming Sundays to really bad trash situations, we finally found Wayne, who agreed to come Saturdays. And so that's been for 2 months. And you said you've seen a difference, and I will let him know. It's really, it was hard because people don't want to take out the trash on Saturday. But we found him, and we're very grateful.
Use the mic, please.
Okay, and there were two, I think it was just two other people other than you, and they both worked at the restaurant Lizette, the one on Germantown Avenue, and here they are working at a restaurant during the day, and then they came there at night to cook more, so it just shows how committed they are, and it was kind of inspiring to work with them and to see how they chop. They know how to do it all. It's good. But I do have to say, the chicken teriyaki is
Gotta give her the rest.
I know, I need it. Well, the sauce was in a container this big. There was squeezed in garlic, there was honey, there was, what else? Teriyaki?
Ginger, soy sauce,
Yeah.
brown sugar.
Yeah. Okay,
Are you
well,
hungry?
yeah, it's making me hungry. But Christine is a good chef. She can put it all together, and when she comes in with bags and bags and bags of food, and she's been to Aldi, she's been to Walmart, she's been to Costco. She knows that other place I've never been to. What's that other place?
Lidl.
Lindell. I never heard of Lindell, but it must be a good place.
Our goals are nutritious, tasty, and people want to eat it. Like something recognizable. We try not to make really unrecognizable, not necessarily bizarre, but like specialty things we try to avoid just because if people don't know what it is, they may not take it. They may be scared of what's in it, which is another reason why we mark everything, especially if we've made two versions of something. So people know when we made burrito bowls, people knew we had beef ones, people knew we also had vegetarian ones. Because some people, if they don't eat beef, they may say, oh, I don't want this whole meal, where we made a vegetarian option. So they had the same meal just without the actual meat.
For example, yesterday I spent a bunch of time at my home kitchen preparing 15 pounds of high-end mushrooms. There was a mysterious donation earlier this week of some really high-end products to the fridge. We don't know who brought it. It was probably 25 pounds of fancy mushrooms. I'm talking from a mushroom dealer. There were golden oyster mushrooms, just chunks of them, probably wild foraged, and shiitake mushrooms, the big caps and the small caps. And they were gonna turn. They had to get made, and so I asked my sister, who's a vegan, help, what do I do with 15 pounds of mushrooms? And she said, make mushroom shawarma. I don't know if you all are all familiar with what shawarma is. It's like when you see the meat on a spit, and they shave it off and make a sandwich with it. It's a Mediterranean specialty, but all the different countries in that area of the world have their own spin on it. So it's basically cooking these mushrooms with the same flavor profile and then serving it in that kind of style. So I made mushroom shawarma yesterday. It's downstairs. And we'll probably get about 45 meals out of it with some rice, tahini sauce, and we'll make a cucumber tomato salad. And so we're going to feed a whole lot of people with these crazy boxes of mushrooms that would have been in the trash, and that maybe people would not know what to do with if they just got a chunk of golden oyster mushroom. So yeah, Mark.
I had two questions. The first one is about the cooked meals. Are they, how does the community react? Do you put all the cooked meals in the fridges at one time, or are they distributed, or are there days when your clients know when the cooked meals are going to come out and they're waiting for them? How long do they last in the fridge?
We don't advertise when we're doing the meals. We've brainstormed how to do that without having a problem of too many people, not enough meals. So we're still working on that part. But a lot of times there's almost always traffic outside the fridge, and we'll say to people as we're going in with all the ingredients, hey, we'll have meals in a couple hours. And people sometimes do wait around. Sometimes they come back. The meals sometimes all go in at once, and sometimes depending on what we're making, if we have say 3 or 4 items, which a lot of times we do, we may be finished with something and we may just take those out right away. The interesting part is sometimes you could put 60 salad cups or 60 yogurt cups in the fridges, and 30 minutes later when we go out with the next meal, what we've put in there is already gone. So people and people seem to really enjoy what's there. People have been commenting more on, just coming by like, oh yeah, I had those meals you made last week. They were really good. We put everything in the fridges, typically at one time, just because there's nowhere else to really store it. The only time we kept something back was the one that we made overnight oats, which obviously need to sit overnight. So we kept them all in the fridge downstairs in the basement, and then the next day I came and distributed them between the 2 locations. Typically, the food we date it 3 days from the date we make it. Nothing ever lasts in the fridge that long. They're all gone. Sometimes if we do it at night, there may be a few things left in the morning, but typically speaking, it's all gone within a few hours. Some people will take 1 meal. Some people may take 3 or 4 meals. Depends on who they have at home. And some people take them to their neighbors or other family members. Everything, like I said, everything does go in the fridge. The only time we haven't put things in the fridge have been like when we've baked items and we put them in the pantry side because they don't have to be refrigerated. But if not, we always follow the food safety rules of, if it's something, even if it's a hot meal, it goes into the fridge because we don't know how long it's going to actually be there. you know, sometimes we have people standing outside and we just hand them straight to them before we put the rest of them into the fridges.
Thanks. I guess I have three questions. Yeah, my second question is encouraging clients or customers to, this is a question, is there a policy that if they see stuff that's spoiled, they can throw it away? I may have had a conversation with Ilana about someone who just briefly before stuff was put in, it was pretty fresh and someone had thrown it all away, making, you know, a decision that to me didn't seem like a good one, you know, and there was, but I'm not that connected or seeing what happens, because sometimes I'll look in the trash and I go, why was that thrown away?
Yeah, absolutely. We spoke on the phone.
Right.
Yeah. So there's a lot. I think I just made a brief comment today or here that people have different ideas of what's good. There's sometimes you might say education. There's definitely, I overhear lots of conversations, particularly with produce, like there's brown spots on it, cut the brown spots off. You know, sometimes something that I might take home and work with, I don't know if others will. Sometimes I don't know if something's brown, if it'll spread, if I leave it with everything else, you know. We do have a compost pile in your garden here, which is the gardening team is another program of our fridge. I think it originated with the fridge, but it involves a lot of congregants, your garden inside your beautiful courtyard. So if there are people present in the moment who are able to, they can bring compost around. You know, sometimes it ends up in the trash. I think Mark's particular situation, there was a man who he thought he was doing the right thing, putting produce in the trash that he thought wasn't good. And Mark was saying it was good. And Mark's not the only person who reported an instance like that, you know, and also I don't know who the guy was. I don't know if it was the same guy both times. I personally had a situation where there were cans that were dropped off that were expired, and someone had moved them from the pantry to the trash area. Cans in a trash bag are problematic, by the way, for whoever's trying to remove the trash bag. So any cans that come that have to be trashed, it's like, don't do that, please. Somebody had moved the expired cans from our pantry to the trash area. And when I arrived with something else to do that day, there was a man there who had moved them back. And he was very angry that somebody was throwing away these cans. I said, well, they're expired. I looked at him and he was like, oh, he just didn't know.
Yeah.
And he didn't think that like he didn't know that that's why they were over there, and he couldn't see the expiration date. And we had a conversation, and then he helped me bring them back again. You know, so we don't surveil. We don't like there is a camera if we need to look at it, but we don't count. Something that comes up a lot that's kind of a difficult conversation I had with Kara yesterday, like how do you get data? And we don't. You know, and in my experience with nonprofits and coming to this nonprofit and looking at how much money we are given, like the community is so generous with us. We've gotten grants we didn't apply for. We get a lot of money that comes to us with no strings attached. And even for the church here, while the grant asked for some numbers, I say what I say and I give an estimate, but there are no real numbers. And that's kind of part of the mutual aid. Everybody's allowed to be anonymous. If you want to be not anonymous, you can announce yourself. You know, we have our social media. Plenty of people will say, I dropped this off at the fridge today, and tag the fridge, whether it's an individual or another church or a school or something, you know. But we are extremely lucky to have no funders telling us what we need to do with the money that they give us. And so nobody's demanding we have data, and we don't really want to do that.
A follow up to the compost. So I worked with Susan some to try to encourage getting stuff, whether it's legitimately being thrown away or not, to get it around the compost. It's a schlep. It's hard to kind of encourage. I don't know how to create a culture, and people just don't have time that are working with a fridge to go all the way around. And I put some buckets out, and the buckets just disappeared. But
Right.
if there's maybe in the conversation coming up for the future of the fridge, it would be better, because what does get thrown away, most of it just ends up in the trash in a landfill, which is not very sustainable. And I understand people are busy, but so if there's, just think about that in the future. The compost is sort of new and improved in the backyard, and it would be a great thing. The last thing, and I'll get off the microphone, is I'm like Rodney. I'm a trash fanatic. I guess it's because I live in the suburbs, but um, it's not just I think things have improved, but trash is everywhere in Germantown. It drives me crazy on the church grounds. Any thoughts in the future about how to create a culture of caring and getting rid of trash and getting it where it really belongs? We try to take care of a problem area there on that high street side of the church, and there is a lot of stuff from the fridge that people decide don't want, or they eat it, throw the bag in that gardening, which is mostly weeds at this point area. So yeah, I'm a fanatic about that, and I'm just going to bring it up and think, how can we all work together? It's not a fridge problem. It's a culture Germantown problem.
I have a lot to say on that, so just cut me off whenever. Um, well, uh, so Christine mentioned a woman named Bria, who came, and she's a home cook, and they did the bolognese. She and her husband have an organization called I Love Thy Hood, and I Love Thy Hood. You may have seen orange trash cans around the neighborhood, and that's her and her husband's project. So Mark, it just came to me, you should probably talk to Bria, because we could get some of their trash cans here, maybe on the other side, maybe in the parking lot, maybe just all around. When you were talking about the compost, so things disappear, including like a literal trash can. One of our trash cans was walking away, and it stayed away. We found out the first 2 times through the grapevine of fridge community. This guy was using it as a cart to push his groceries home. He was using our trash can, and another guy was bringing it back. And then it disappeared permanently. And so basically, if anything is there that we don't want to disappear, we kind of have to lock it. Right now, we have them tethered together so that you can't really take one away. And so it occurred to me, for compost, maybe we can chain up a cart. There's always an answer, and it's really not a long distance to have to go. It's just, with the trash too, it becomes untenable to put it in your car if your car's not meant for that, if your vehicle's not meant for transporting trash. Don't want to get celery juice on the upholstery. It's just like there's little impediments, and there are answers, but it takes organizing and will. And there's so many little things every day, and you don't know how many hours I'm on the phone with Christine and Susan Block every day, just working them out. That's the beauty of organizing. But it takes enough people who are concerned about the minutia for all that minutia to get covered.
Yeah.
Or is there what would be the next step for Community Fridge?
Yesterday you talked about renovating the kitchen.
Yes.
There's incredible energy in this partnership that we have. I'll say just me and Christine and the women we cook with, but more broadly with Elisa and Jackie. Susan has a relationship with the church too, and some volunteers who came before us. you know, but I'm not a church going person. This community is really inspiring to me. Linda told me about how she found this church originally, you know, and just learning about your legacy, organizing with Elisa. I think there's so much potential right here. Not even talking about the other fridge, you know, but just right here, and it does spill over to Armit Street Fridge, and then Christine had mentioned Lena Street Fridge, which is just several blocks from Armit, down around the corner. It's not a fridge we manage, but it is right there, and we have a lot to share with them and to bring them along with us.
I think there are 10 burners on that stove. Do you use them all?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, you should have seen the day we were making the coconut chicken stew. I had 10 pots on, and I need a step stool.
Step stool to get to reach it to see what's in the pot.
Check the chicken, check the chicken. Yeah.
I'm just concerned about, I hadn't realized, which I should have realized decades ago, that we have all those 10 gas burners going all the time, polluting, wasting gas, etc. And so one of the things that I've thought of in terms of replacing the stove is a different kind of power. And it's just thinking the cost is going to be enormous.
Yeah. You know, we are so grateful for everything that we have and are offered, and we will work with whatever's there. And we have, you know, it's just Kara asked what's next, and I think there's a lot of potential to improve, but also we make it work.
Right.
We always make it work.
That how much I respect the organization for the cleanup they do. I mean, the floor gets swept, everything gets washed, everything gets dried, everything gets put away. It's amazing, and it's. I just feel like we need to honor this hard work, and I know that George left money to the church, and I, you know, looking around that kitchen, it's kind of horrifying. Hetty came in last week and helped. And she told me, she said, you know, I hadn't been in that kitchen for a long time, and I didn't realize how horrible it was. But it's so unwelcoming. And when those Villanova kids were there, I'm sure they were looking, oh my God, where are I? You know, there are whole walls, the paint is coming off, the sinks are disgusting back there. You can't even use them. You know, but all the pots and pans are clean, all the utensils, all that stuff is immaculate. But if we could clean up the rest of it, I think we would all benefit.
I was gonna say part of the goal.
I think for a perspective, the kitchen hasn't been used regularly for a couple of years, ever since, correct. So dust, dirt, etc. If the kitchen was used regularly, it would probably look 10,000 times better than it does. Aside from age of equipment.
So that reminds me of using the kitchen. There's another organization that started using the kitchen as well, a couple weeks ago. It's called Dirt Baby. Dirt Baby is it's affiliated with Susquehanna Nature Center. Schuylkill Nature Center. It's some it's I guess employees who are doing this in their spare time with the produce excess that they grow there. They're preparing meals specifically for postpartum parents and families in Northwest Philadelphia. So any household that just had a new baby, that's their audience, and they are cooking meals here on Wednesdays. And so that happened because of the network of people who know what we're doing here, and other volunteers. A woman named April, who is a chef who volunteers with the People's Kitchen, which is in South Philly, I think. And through the grapevine and the People's Kitchen and Double Trellis, which also makes meals. I think they're in West Philly. Dirt Baby came to us. And so now they're here too. And just using the kitchen, cleaning it, keeping it alive, you know, it makes more sense for that gas to be on all the time if it's getting used, you know. And I'll just say, coming from restaurants, that's how industrial stoves are. But also there's new ideas about gas and stoves now, and I'm open. Yeah.
Another time, we needed more space, and an area that we hadn't been using, that was all dusty since COVID. You hold it this way? You hold it this way or this way? Anyway, about cleaning, there was an area that was really dirty because it hadn't been used since before COVID, and we needed more space, so we cleaned that really well. So we clean it as much as possible. We can't clean it.
I was gonna say, and to your point of the stove being on all the time and being used, that's actually my big goal, personal goal for the whole organization, is to cook more food, which is why we've increased how many times we cook. Now, each time may not be a full 100 complete meals, but it'll be 60 of this, 40 of this, some sandwiches thrown in. You know, it's definitely a lot of items. They might not just be whole complete meals, but like I said, Friday night we did 2 different kinds of sandwiches. We did a pesto pasta with mozzarella balls and tomatoes, and then we did the yogurt parfaits. So it definitely is a meal, but it's not necessarily what you consider, you know, a standard dinner or lunch type meal. We've been doing that, and we also have a lot of partnerships with getting donations. So one of them is Merzbacher Bread. They've been providing the bread we've been using for the sandwiches. So on top of giving us donations for the refrigerators, we have filled the freezer downstairs with rolls and bread that we're using for our projects. So like next week, we're going to make pulled pork, pulled chicken, and pulled jackfruit. We have the rolls in the freezer to use with that, which helps cut our costs, provides a quality product, and they're willing to give us, you know, that. We have probably, I think I counted between 15 and 18 standard pickups a week from different organizations, between bakeries, produce pickups. I pick up frequently on Mondays from an organization called Caring for Friends, and my entire car is full of produce. They provide us with meat. They provided the meat that we used Friday night. It was Deeds and Watson chicken. We use that. So we do utilize the basement freezer and fridge that we've been allowed to use to store a lot of stuff, to be able to make things down the line with less cost. Therefore, we can make more food.
Yeah, and the ability to use the fridges in the basement, which are the church's fridges, has allowed us to be doing this, to rescue food, put it in there for a couple days till we figure out what to do with it. It allows us to accept 8 frozen turkeys from grocery outlet bargain market and figure out month by month, can Marilyn make a turkey this month? Can Linda make a turkey next month? You know, and we work through it, but you know, we're able to do so much. And when the relationship started with the church, I think through Susan Block, it was very like, well, can we use it once a month? We'll take everything with us when we leave, you know, to now Christine's here every day, and the fridge and the freezer in the basement are always overflowing. Thank you. Yes.
We're running down on time, but I just want to say thank you so much for everything. And incorporating all these great knowledge. Yeah, I'm sure you can use more.
Always use more.
I also would want to say that we want to make sure we get information. We have a front here. Is there anybody online that has any questions? Okay, Well, thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.